Hi, I hope you'll join me today. I'll be painting this pink floral teapot. I'm using my size 6 Intuition round brush, my Sonnet and SeimiArt watercolors. I have my watercolor palette handy. This is a 4x5 watercolor paper. I cut it from the 8x11 350 GSM watercolor paper from Dollar Tree. I have 2 jars of water, one for rinsing my dirty brush and the other for actually painting. And I have a clean cloth on hand for dabbing any puddles or mistakes. Let's get started. So today I really wanted to start by painting this teapot with flowers in it, of course. So what I'm doing first is I'm just laying down some water. I'm outlining my teapot so that I can work wet on wet for this background. And you know, I'm trying to be fairly precise about it, but I'm also not, you know, I'm not stressing. Just keeping all that kind of nice and loose and trying to stay relaxed about it. I outlined this teapot and, you know, I did not look at any reference for it. So I'm not sure, you know, if I did okay. I mean, I feel like it's fine, but if I look at some references later, I'll not be surprised if I see some things I can rather improve. I expect that to be the case anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna make you know, an imperfect border, as I like to do. And today I'm going to start my background with my ocean watercolor. Now it's a beautiful blue. It's really a nice indigo, I would say. And I like it for this purpose today because it looks really nice with the pink over it, the Madder Lake red. And it doesn't cause that interesting granulation that the lavender tends to cause with my Madder Lake red. So I just wanted to keep it a bit more simple today and use that. I love the look that granulation has. I think it can be kind of difficult, and I have to be in the mood for it because I have to be really okay with things being extremely loose and losing definition even. And I'm not always in the mood for that. I know it will come as a shock to many of you, but sometimes I actually am kind of particular. Not always. Okay, so I'm taking my ocean and just trying to stay with this outline that I have. I'm using my size 6 here, my size 6 round. And just dropping in this pigment, start blending it kind of quickly. Just kind of like to move quickly, but the more detail in a painting or in that outline, you know, the more difficult that can be. And I'll just go ahead and bring some water into this here so that it stays plenty wet as I get ready to blend that more. Put some more water in over here, just so that I don't have to feel the pressure of working quite so quickly. And I want to put some water into this and push some of that pigment out. I do not want a just super defined or hard shadow over here. Okay, and I think I'll just put some more pigment into this all around. I'm just kind of bouncing my brush a little so I get kind of just some different textures in that. So fun. I really always love to see how the background works out, and you know, all the little messiness and imperfections and how they just kind of lend to this, to the look I get. I really enjoy that in the background especially. And I like how the backgrounds just tend to really give these little miniatures so much focus. So whatever is up here just so naturally gets the focus and really just kind of pops. So fun. Just a nice little easy practice, honestly, for being relaxed, because it's just, you know, it's kind of mindless. So I'm really just putting in more water up here, and I've been trying to keep those areas a bit wet as I, you know, that the edges, as far as when I pull my pigment up, that the edge that I end up getting there, I've been trying to keep that kind of wet. Now, I may not have done it perfectly, and I think that that's going to be okay. I want to dot this here. I don't want anything that looks very very hard or harsh. Okay, and then just swirling that. I want to bring in a good bit more pigment, but lending to the idea of texture in the background. So that's why I just try to keep loose brush strokes and vary the direction that I'm doing them. And it's just something you kind of, you get over time. You know, you do things and you start seeing that, oh, I like how that went. And, you know, if you're lucky, your brain can kind of hold on to how, you know, what you did there. I have plenty of times when I think, oh my gosh, that was so great. I have no idea what I did. But if you're, especially if you see it after the fact, it's just kind of like, oh gosh, wow, that's amazing. I wonder how that happened. But I love when, you know, you can make that connection as you're going, because then you really can, you can retain it. And you know, if you don't, or if you don't catch it, then you just have to trust that you'll get that again. You'll have an opportunity, you'll play with it again, and you know, you'll see, you can make that connection. But one of the fun things about art, you just kind of don't always know what you will hang on to, what your brain will hang on to. I guess that's true about life, honestly, right? Okay, I'm loving this so much. I may even want to re-wet and do more around the teapot. but we'll just have to see about that. Yeah, I think it could use a little more, just a little more texture. I'm reminded that I'm painting inside today, and so, you know, I never know if you can hear my fans or the AC, but today I thought I would mention, just for, especially for people who could be new or watching this and thinking about taking up watercolor, one of the things that I do, I always have a fan running because, well, in the summer it's just hot where excuse me, where I am, but I do turn my fan down so that my watercolor is not drying faster than I want it to, especially if I'm working wet on wet. So that's just something to kind of think about. I found that that's been very helpful to me. It gives me a bit more time, and you know, I like that. I like having that time. So I want to go ahead and get started on these florals. I will be using my Madder Lake Red. And I'm hoping this is wet enough. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do some of the, well, I will need to wet that more now, won't I? I'm going to go ahead and just kind of dot in some places that I think could be background-ish, you know, filler. And then I'm going to go ahead and wet this down here. Okay. And maybe instead of just all together wetting, I'll just go ahead and touch those. Okay. Not bad, and I think they're still, you know, they're still abstract enough. But I will go ahead and put some clean water in around these. Well, that is too much. And the reason it's too much, like it really did puddle, the reason that that's too much, in my opinion, is because it will push some of that blue pigment away. And I'm not really wanting it to do that. So I'm just making sure that these areas here that I want to put some greens in are truly going to be wet enough to do so, because I want these also to just bleed a bit, just like the Madder Lake did. And I hope y'all can just forgive my voice. It's been very, gosh, it's just been difficult lately. I'm probably dehydrated and I've probably done a bit more talking. There have been some phone calls and whatnot that, okay, so I like this actually, and I did this quite by accident. I was dotting in pigment, and as I was doing so, I just kind of started making leaves. And so where the pigment was nice and wet, it just bled, and where it was not quite so wet, it made those leaves. And that was not actually thought out on my end. It just kind of started happening that way, and I like it. That's something I will try to keep in mind and do in the future. Okay. I'm loving this. And I don't really want too many or too much green in the center of my painting. I would rather have more flowers there. But I'm, you know, I'm kind of open to either. And, you know, I want more flowers, but I do want to have leaves. Okay, and you can see some of those places where I, you know, I was touching and making leaves and whatnot there. It's still wet, so that's fine. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to take my olive, and I have some that's mixed with a little bit of brown, and I'm just going to use that for some variety in my leaves. So I'm just wetting that and then using plenty of water and then kind of dragging a lot of that pigment off of there. And then just to figure out how I want these, I think for this I kind of want to go in a kind of in a U shape, I think. So my flowers kind of sinking down in the middle, like I guess kind of going with the shape of the tea kettle. I don't always do that, and sometimes I do around it, but often I'll do something that's quite triangular. But this, I think I'll possibly have a little dip there. Forgive me for bumping that my phone stand. That has been kind of a struggle lately, but I've been recording with 2 cameras at the same time. So yeah, I'm just kind of klutzy about it lately. Okay, I love this. And don't be afraid of your greens and, you know, all of this stuff overlapping. It would do that. If this were in, you know, an actual arrangement, there would be some overlapping of your florals and your leaves. So don't worry about it. Make some dark and then make some light, and just kind of, you know, be sure you're kind of balancing how that looks in your composition. Okay, I love it. And then with this background, I love that you can just add greenery, and you know, this is just a super light wash of this same green, and I'm just, you know, going in and adding depth and you know, more layers of this, of these leaves, and it just works really well to do that, I think, especially with this with the background. And then that's a good foundation really to layer on top of. It looks very pleasing. Okay, I want to start on these flowers. I love to paint these so much, and yes, they're my standard, they're my go-to, they're my feel-good, they're my, I don't know what else to paint, I'm gonna paint these, or I've been painting garbage all day, I want to paint something good. These do all of that for me. So I'm gonna dot in some sizable centers. I'm not worried about overlapping these greens. In fact, I want to be sure that I do. That was still quite wet, so it has bled, and that's okay. And I love how faded these are. Gosh, I almost wish I had gone in a bit drier and just done everything like that, because I love that. That was a happy accident for sure. But now just filling in a few places to make some, just less than detailed flowers. So just like little bits that might be peeking out here and there. And then taking my plain water, just brushing in some leaf shapes, not caring about what overlaps. I try to leave the centers open because I like that look. Really have a lot of water on here, so be interesting to see how these do. And I just wanted to be careful around that handle because I didn't want my pigment to bleed into it. I think it would be okay, and I think I could overlap it, but you know, just a decision that I made to kind of make sure my flower was kind of going behind it, I guess. Oof, that was a bit of pigment there that I just kind of put into that puddle. So I'm going to rinse my brush, blot it, and use my brush to soak up some of this pigment. Super easy. So I still have that, and what I'll do is I'll kind of brush a petal this way to drag some of that pigment up. Okay. Yeah, I like it. Gosh, that was nice. This little spot right here has really all this depth in it. I don't know if you can see that. And I just flicked a tiny bit of pigment out of that into the water. And to me, that's like the best spot of this whole painting. It's just it's so soft. It starts to blend into the background, but doesn't quite. And yeah, it's really pretty. Okay, and I felt like, as much as I do not want to mess with these, they're just not as cohesive with the rest of this. So I think I will just go ahead and kind of repaint them, but y'all should know how loath I am to do that. They're just such a neat look. I just don't feel like they quite are in the same painting. They're not quite the same style. And, you know, I'm not super picky about things being perfect or anything like that, but I like things to be cohesive, and you know, you just know when something's maybe not quite. Now this here, I just ended up with so much pigment in that, and I think it's okay, but I kind of like to push some of it just to get a little separation in this petal here, or in between those petals. So I just took a bit of water, and then I'm kind of pushing that pigment and then blotting. And I think it's fine, and what I'll end up doing is probably layer some greenery around it, just to, if I can think of a way to give that some, I don't know, separation. I'm not positive. I think it's really okay, and I mean for this to be easy and loose. So it's funny sometimes, the things that you notice, and then it's funny the things that you don't necessarily notice, or at least me. That's true for me, for sure. Okay, this is going well. And I feel like some of these leaves that are down here should be kind of dark. They're kind of below the florals, and so it makes sense. Paint a few stems here and there. Just make sure there's enough pigment. And I really love that I don't think I really destroyed the look of these over here. And I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy that they kind of kept some of that, the character that they had. It was really interesting. Okay, a bit too much of that olive there. Just pull some of this out, and then I want to use some of my brown and olive. I don't love that big dark blob there, but I'm just gonna see if I can soak that up. There we go. Okay, this is me not being afraid of overlapping, taking my own advice. All right, I need a bit more olive. Just get some of that ready. Goodness, this is a lot of layers. I love it. And right there, I just noticed there was a little, you know, it was just kind of an open spot. I didn't feel like it should be open, and I just kind of brushed that in. I feel like that definitely works. I'd like to lighten up my pigment, so I just want to do some kind of filling over here. Nice. Oh, I like it so much. Very fun. This was so fun. Okay, I really want to rinse my brush, and then I want to wet inside my teapot. I want to try to avoid the the very edge of it, but I'm going to add just a bit of shadow so that this has a little bit of dimension to it. This is a really great reason why using 2 containers of water can really be helpful, because if I were using the same jar of water for painting as I am for rinsing my brush, then this would be right here, it'd be a muddy mess. Okay, so I'm taking a bit of my Payne's Gray, super light wash of it. Maybe too light. I've almost never said that using this Payne's Gray. It's almost always, oh gosh, not that dark. Yeah, just easy. Maybe a little bit up here, because it's, you know, underneath all that. And then let's do the lower part of the handle. Okay, and then I just want to blend that a bit. And honestly, I think I've got to go back and do a bit more. It does need a bit more. It's so easy to overdo it, but okay, yeah, I like it. This has been so fun. Oh my goodness. All right, just a little blending there because that's a bit dark. And then as you blend, you can be really rather imperfect to this side, and if you still manage to drag some of the gray over, then where you're imperfect, those will be highlights, and it's so easy to do that. It's an effortless way to add that just a little more dimension and detail. There's even a little highlight right there on the foot. And this, you know, you could go in and blend a bit more, but I'm not sure that that little bit of white showing bothers me. I think it actually, for this style of painting, I feel like it works and that it works fine. So I love this. I'm so happy with it. And I think that I will add a bit of a shadow. Now this is different for me because the shadow doesn't touch the entire kettle. I don't think. I mean, it does, it should, but it should be darker here. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go up this way because that would cast some shadow. And then let's just let this be kind of messy. But then instead of taking my Payne's Gray for this right up at the belly of the kettle, I think I'll go a bit underneath it. And I like that this really retained a good bit of pigment right at the foot. I like that. And then it's just kind of, you know, spreading, leading into that water that I've put there. I think that that works just fine. Okay, one more dot of dark. so happy with that. Oh my gosh, this was so fun. I hope you had a good time painting this with me today. Oh my goodness, I'm thrilled with this. What a darling little card, or I feel like I could paint this for someone for, you know, a little framed print. I think that that would go over real well. So I hope that if you were not able to paint it today, that you bookmark it, save it to paint later. Let me know how it goes, and as always, happy painting.